Well, welcome everyone. As you know, we are doing a demo on our two models of the MKN Combi ovens. We've got some people from Baker Group. I'm sure you are noticing that the FlexiCombi doesn't look the same as what you're probably used to working with. It got a recent update in 2024. Not a huge one, but the software is now the exact same as on the SpaceCombi and the FlexiChef. So it's uniform across the range. Small other design changes to the door, and the lights now are inside the door rather than the chamber. Small differences, but you know, it's important. We did a brisket in the FlexiCombi overnight, which will be ready soon, and a batch of poached eggs in the SpaceCombi. And we're going to do some soufflés later as well, and hopefully get some people involved. The FlexiCombi, well, firstly MKN. So a German company that's been around for 75 years that are specialized on everything thermal cooking equipment. So combi ovens, pressure brat pans, and then the full cooking line, like you can see. They are very focused on, obviously they're German, so reliability, intuitive, innovative designs, quality. You know, you feel the hinges, you feel the stainless steel. There's certain products that you just touch and can feel that it's a quality product. The inside chamber on both the SpaceCombi and the FlexiCombi is a full one-piece welded chamber. Rounded edges, so when you're doing your automatic cleaning, nothing gets excluded. The entire thing comes out as if it was new. The door is flat and sealed. There's two main different types of doors that you'll find on a combi oven. A flat door like this, or a ventilated door. The thing that they're looking out for when they're choosing one or the other is the temperature of the front here. So with a ventilated door, you're dealing with that issue by ventilating some of the hot air out. MKN used to do that. They switched to this, a triple glazed flat door, for two reasons. One, it's so much easier to clean than a ventilated door. Two, having a triple glazed flat door that doesn't let air out, keeps your heat in and saves you energy. About 28% is the statistic. Yeah, in terms of energy savings, that's something that MKN's very big on as well. You'll find that their power load and their water usage is a lot lower than the competition. So for energy savings, they achieve that through a few different ways. One, like I just said, the triple glazed door, flat triple glazed door. Another one, the heat exchanger, which works by using the exhaust heat to preheat water that's coming in for steaming. So the water comes into the chamber, it's already hot, just by using excess heat that otherwise would have just been exhausted out. It doesn't use a boiler, which is good for a good few reasons. One of the big ones, a boiler uses so much water. It's also very prone to scaling issues, scale buildup, and maintenance is very expensive. MKN went with a crosswise loading system rather than lengthwise that you'll see in a good few of our competitors' ovens. I've heard from James, who used to be a chef, and who he has heard from other chefs that he used to work with, that the majority of the people prefer MKN ovens compared to others. One, for the software, it's a lot more intuitive to use. Two, for that crosswise loading. It's a lot more ergonomic, and just in terms of weight, you know, it's not going back and forth, you just have a firm grip on it. Now, for the SpaceCombi, with MKN equipment, no matter what range you're going from, if it's a FlexiCombi to a SpaceCombi or an Optima 850 to Optima 700 or a Counter SL, the size changes, the internals do not. So it doesn't matter which model you're getting, the internals they use are the exact same across the board. There's no compromise on quality. So the SpaceCombi, it's called the SpaceCombi because it saves you space. It's 55 centimeters wide. On this one, it is lengthwise loading because otherwise it would be too wide for it to have any real use. This one is a non-vented model, but a big thing that we have that others don't is that is a built-in model. So a model that is only about this much taller, but you can place anywhere under a bench. It's fully self-venting. That's something that only we do and that you don't find anywhere else. Other than that, all the rest of the functionality is the same. Same software, same triple glazed door, same welded interior, just in a smaller package. The benefit of having the crosswise loading on the FlexiCombi is you can make use of the extra space that would be dead space in the oven. So a GN tray is about the size of this. FlexiRack expands your capacity by about 50%. So
you see on this diagram here, there's a normal GN tray, and then there's the FlexiRack, which obviously can come in different types of trays, from grilling, solid trays.
Now we can talk a bit more about the software. A big thing that we like to promote is the fact it's got something called Chef's Help. So obviously in your kitchen, you don't necessarily have the head chef everywhere. And if the head chef's gone, you can be in trouble. So you can have programs that you can set and include steps with something called Chef's Help, which is basically a recipe within the program. For example, add butter or something halfway through the cooking program, and the apprentice isn't going to forget, because it stops and you have to confirm that step before you keep going. The cooking programs, you can make them on the oven. Right. Otherwise, you can do it from a laptop. But I think if it were me, I would just stick to making them on the oven. It's pretty easy. You've also got about 350 preloaded recipes, which have been tested at MKN. We use them for demos. They work really well. So you can kind of experiment with those. And something else you can do if you're not quite happy with it is you can edit that recipe. And then you can also make your own from scratch.
Yeah. And when you edit those recipes, those saved recipes in there, the edited version gets saved into your favorites, but the original version still stays in there. So you can go back under. And a lot of them are really good. So like the one that's a good segue to what we're going into now, which is I did an overnight shoulder of lamb. So I just did pulled lamb under here. So this cycle, like I was saying, I was adding a step to the right onto the program. And this is where you would go for Chef's Help. So that you can add information on here or photographs, what trays you're using and so on. And this is where you would add in that step. So what I can do is I can delete that step. And then this is the program I used to cook this, which is about 15-hour program, just over that. So it starts off, and if you notice, basically it was cooked, no covering. So no lid on it, no foil or anything like that. Whereas usually you do it in an oven overnight, you get too much of a crust on the top of it, and then the rest of it here, so it's overcooked. But because it injects, the first couple of steps is injecting steam into it. It gets it nice and moist. And what we can do is, that's a perfect way for you guys to have a look. Be a little close to here. So this is literally just come out of the oven. You can see, and look how nice and pink it is and stuff, and moist inside in the middle. This was a brisket recipe that was saved on the original recipe on there. I edited it a little bit. I should have edited the name as well, but to make it lamb. But it works perfectly for any kind of pulled meat, like a long cook overnight. But the other good advantage of this is like it's 15 hours. So you set it in the evening before you go home. You're not going to be there in 15 hours time. Your shift doesn't start the next day. What you can do is scroll up, and this is add step to the right. You can see on there, add into this program. And then at the bottom here, it's got something called perfect hold. So you set that and leave it at non-stop, and you can set the temperature. I'll go ahead at 70 degrees. So when that finishes its cycle, it turns its oven into a hot box. So it holds it for you until the moment you walk in the door. It only ends when you open the door. You can obviously adjust the other step, the fourth step. If you wanted it for lower, just go in for 13 hours. You think that's enough? Sometimes as well with the brisket is a good example. You might want to serve the brisket later on and reheat it per portion for plating. So you would maybe do it for 12 hours, 13 hours. So it's a little bit firmer. You can cut it into those steak pieces. And then there's another program on here that you can do regeneration. So you go into, as you can buy to go in, I'll show you Auto Chef to begin with. So these are the different sections for Auto Chef. So you've got meat, poultry, fish, baking, rice. And where I did the overnight cook is under My Chef Special. And then night cooking. And these are some of the recipes that are loaded onto there. So pork neck, turkey, roast pork, beef medium, so on, different things. And this is the brisket. So you press the brisket, like this, it'll load the cooking program. 30 minutes of steam at 100 degrees, and then 10 minutes of steam on at 90 degrees. And then this is digital
it's
DT steaming.
It's basically a way of measuring. Is it with a core probe?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a way of cooking. Essentially, you put the core probe in, and whatever temperature the brisket is at, it'll keep the oven temperature to 20 degrees above that. So if it's at 55, it'll be at 75, and it'll keep going up for a period of time. That's one of the sort of intricate programs that aren't usually used because it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. But in those pre-programmed recipes, MKN know how to use them. And it works very well.
And then the last step is 85 degrees for 15 hours. So in this part, you can adjust any of this. So like if you wanted to take it or drop it to 75 maybe, you can go okay. Humidity you can adjust.
Essentially you can adjust every part of the program.
Yeah. So say that this is how I'm adjusting this recipe. I want to take it down to just 13 hours. Just click OK. What I'll do here, so I've adjusted this one that's saved on the recipe on here. I've got additional features, and it goes here, save cooking program. Then it goes name, so I can just call it the Phoeniks. My Chef Special, you can put it into there, the category, you can change that. Subcategory, I'll change it to meat. Subcategory, was it lamb, isn't it? Yeah. Image, it goes on the bottom. So when you go into the image, you can choose the image that's already saved onto the thing, or otherwise you can take a photograph of maybe if you're doing a brisket or you're doing a pork belly, that's nice color you want it, that looks how you want it to do. So take a photograph of it with your phone, load that onto a USB key, and then just at the bottom here, the USB port. So you put that onto there, and then you choose the images on the USB stick, and then those images will come up there from your phone, from the USB stick, and then you can choose which one you want. And then you would just go save it, and then save it into favorites. Then I'll show you one I saved earlier. It's only a one-step recipe. So 14 minutes, 190 degrees, humidity. I've controlled the fan. Obviously it's a souffle, so I've turned it off all the way to that's the maximum. It's turned off completely, so it's not blowing it over. And then you can adjust the direction of the fan. It goes.
Yeah. One thing MKN does as standard is the standard way the fan rotates is, I believe it's 4 minutes one direction, it stops, then goes 4 minutes the other direction. And that makes sure that the entire chamber has the same amount of heat, basically. There's no hot spots, there's no areas that are gonna get more cooked than others.
So with a souffle, that works out well because sometimes you get the souffle, it rises more on one side than the other. I mean, obviously there's different techniques you do when you're making it that stops that. But with the oven, it controls it basically, so it goes like this and literally rises straight.
Beautiful.
Hopefully that proves my point this morning when we do it. Going to there, let's go into manual cooking now. So here's your first three normal cooking programs. So you've got steaming, convection ovens, which is just dry heat. You can adjust the different moistures in there, and then combination. And you see here, there's a small arrow at the bottom. So it's just scroll up like you would on your phone or anything. So there you go, it's got sous vide over here. So you can do it on the sous vide, which you can do with the egg. I mean, I've done it manually here with the eggs, which I'm poaching eggs straight in the shells over here. And add to this one, it's about to finish soon. But you can do that same thing on sous vide. I've just done it manually on the steam and adjust the temperature of the steam. Baking, rack control is a good one. Obviously you choose which one you want. So you're doing convection. So here you can set a timer for each shelf. So a different timer will go off to basically, I mean, if you are doing a function, you want the veggies to come out first, or say you bring them up to the protein at the bottom, come out last. And the service, so you can take them out when the buzzer goes off, put them straight into a hot box or a holding cabinet, ready to go out. And then obviously the buzzer will go off when the timer goes off, and then for the protein, then it's straight to serving. This is all the, I guess, information basically. So device information is a good page. It's the first page that you can go to, which is if you ever do get a fault notice come up onto the screen, you take, obviously, if you guys take a picture of the fault notice with your phone, then go into the settings and bring up device information. On the device information, this brings up things like serial numbers, what software version we're running, and so on like this. And then you send that with that fault notice to myself or to head office or to the technicians. And then we can basically tell what oven it is, what software is running. 'Cause sometimes it might just be a software issue. And then go on to basically making sure that the technicians, when they show up, they've got parts they might need. So saving time on that sort of thing. No. Just tell me to hold it. Other ones on exporting HACCPs. This is a good one. So you've been cooking with all your programs, using them to cook different items, whether it's the lamb, whether it's eggs, or whatever it is, especially with things like eggs and all this, which is a more dangerous product to basically put out to the customer, especially for temperature-wise, food hygiene. If you've obviously followed that cycle, you might have got one chef that has opened it, thought, I think it's ready. I'll take it out. And taken it out early and it hasn't cooked to temperature, and somebody gets sick from that. This will all show up in this. So you can download that, put a USB key into here. So you set the time for last week when it happened, or last month, or all of it since the life of the oven. That might be a bit over the top, but you can do that depending on how long ago it was. And then you can literally hand that. So if you followed all the cycles, you haven't opened the door during a program, anything like that. So you're handing that and you're saying, look, we cooked those eggs. This was the time we cooked the eggs at that time of day. It followed its complete cycle, was cooked to temperature. It was nothing to do with cooking part of it. So this one's another settings for favorites. So as we were doing it there, you saw on the screen earlier when I went straight to favorites and chose the souffle recipe. The souffle recipe was saved it was behind all the other recipes, or it was only in favorites when you clicked onto favorites. So you can set this up as favorites first and then goes into auto chef, or only favorites, because you've set all your recipes up in programs. You don't want to worry the other chefs about all those other programs. Put it as only favorites. So when you open it, you turn it on, only the favorites come up. So it's just your programs. So they're not searching. Although you do have a favorites button on the screen.
Just as though.
Yeah, if they do go into that part, it's coming up with your recipes first as well. And obviously you can lock that as well. So if you've set all your recipes on there, you don't want your apprentices fiddling around with it, changing it, because he thinks he knows better. You notice I'm still talking like a chef, because he knows better. But yeah, you just lock it, he can't adjust it. So this one hasn't got one, but they on it, but it can come manufactured at time of order with a smoking box, which is called SmokeInside. So when you're making one of these programs, so manual cooking. So you're designing your programs. So this can be your first step. You would go 180 degrees, all right, put a time in there, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. This at the bottom part, you would add a step to the right. Now, if the choice is here of what the next step is going to be, if it contained a smoke box, it's actually got a picture of a little trout. It's doing smoked trout, but that's the symbol of it. You can scroll down to where that smoking point was, press the smoking thing, and then, so you were cooking for 20 minutes on 180 degrees, that's set humidity. The next step would be basically at the end of that cycle, you might want to add 10 minutes of smoking, and then you can add the degree of it. So what it is, it sets, if you can see here, on this picture here, there's this little box that sits on the top, and there's a little handle at the front of it. It's simple, basically, yeah, of your wood chips. Yeah, just not the sawdust, because the grates and the little thing, it will just drop through and you would get the dust. We have a client that basically uses them for smoking caviar. So Yarra Valley caviar. Yeah, so they use a lot of our ovens, usually the larger ones are 20 trays, and they just use it for smoking. Majority of the time, they use a little bit for doing some hams and stuff, Christmas time. So yeah, I was just out there last month out there. It's a great facility in the middle of nowhere. I love the Yarra Valley. I'd never been there before, but beautiful. It's just on a farm in like a house. It's not a big kitchen. It's just a farm building. But yeah, they're smoking all different types of caviar out there. But yeah, do cold smoke on a very low temperature. I think it goes down to 30 degrees, although that's the lowest you can go on it. But that's just the cavity temperature. It's lower than that on the bottom. What they do as well to help that with caviar, especially with some of their delicate caviars, and I've done it with butter as well, so smoked butter. You get a tray of ice, a gastronome, put it into the bottom, and then put your caviar or your butter in there that you want a low temperature so it doesn't melt, and then set it on to 30 degrees, and then it even gives them that. So it comes out beautiful. You can soak your wood chips if you wanted to. So like if you're doing a pork belly, maybe soak them in apple juice overnight. So then you get a less intensive kind of smoke. Maybe soaking them is maybe a longer smoke. I'll go through all this, guys, when we do the training and stuff like that. For like a longer smoke, you might want to soak them, so it gives just a nice, of the smoke for a longer period of time. Whereas when it's dry, it just gives that strong smoke flavor for a short period of time. So usually the dry ones for long cooked meats, like if you did a brisket. So you go through that whole cycle before the perfect hold, before it turns it into a hot box. You would add 10 minutes of smoking with the dry chips. It would give that nice smoke flavor, and then go into perfect hold, and then you've got everything cooked, smoked, ready to go as soon as you walk in the door. You could do, yeah, so you can mix it with tea, like dry tea, so it's good for duck. No, there is, I don't know if we've got the drawer. We have
it's pretty sizable.
Yeah, it's similar to a colander. Okay. Yeah, to a colander hole. So basically, as long as the tea flakes are basically so big, not the size when they're in the tea bag, but like the loose tea, it will perfectly sit in there. Yeah, when the drawer goes in, it's got like a small square-shaped colander basically, and then underneath is where the element, as you slide it in, there's just some elements going into there. So when those elements heat up, they're just burning the bottom of the thing. So it burns them and then basically injects the smoke into the oven. There's a little tube that basically, obviously normally you get everything coming out of the oven, so extracting it out. There's a little tube that basically you put over when you want to do the smoking cycle. So when you're doing all the cooking, just put that on. So basically when you come back in the morning, it's doing the smoking part as well. When you do the cleaning, I would not, because if you want to use, you've done it overnight, and you're coming in the morning and you want to use your oven after that, you've done the smoking, just run it a cleaning cycle, a short cleaning cycle without chemicals. and it'll just wash it and get rid of that smoky flavor. So we don't have separate tablets, chemicals, liquids, or anything like this. This is all inside of one capsule. And basically the biggest advantage for this is, as a head chef you would know, it's controllable cost. So you know what the cost of each one of these is, you know how many you're using per week, so you know exactly how much you're spending on chemicals. Whereas, you know, sometimes with the tablets and liquid, they put more in, they chuck half a dozen tablets in, somebody checks 8 in, whatever, you use them up quicker. This is all a controllable cost. And then the other part of it is, a lot of people these days, you know, they might have allergies. It's sealed with wax on the cover. So when you put them in, I'll show you how to do that one. There you go. You push it back into everything. There's 2 on here. If you wanted to use it, you turn it upside down into this, sit it in there, and then basically the heat of the oven at the beginning of the cycle, the cleaning cycle, we'll go to that. So wave clean, here it's called wave clean. Just press it on the bottom of here. It shows you the picture of here. So you got short, medium, which is 1 hour and 50. Short is 1 hour. Intensive is 3 hours. So the intensive would be basically at the end of the day, depending how much you use your oven. All of the ovens I've always used to try and save on cleaning and chemicals in that way. I would recommend, if you're not using the oven intensively and it's not got a lot of smoke, you've been doing a lot of smoking during the day, or a lot of fat and stuff is covering in the oven. Sometimes I just put it on while you're cleaning down the kitchen, put it on a steamer cycle and let it just basically loosen some of the grease and stuff like that. You can use the hose then to just manually clean it. You know, once a week or twice a week, you run it on an intensive in the evening and then it just cleans your oven and you keep it maintained like that. Then you're controlling that cost of those chemicals and only using them twice a week and trying to keep it clean. Obviously, if you're using a lot more, you're smoking every day and you really want to get the oven clean, use it on a daily basis. You still got the controlled costs if you know you're using it 7 days a week, for instance. So you would run it on, start it on the intensive, leave it into the oven overnight. When it's finished its cycle, it would turn itself into sleep mode, basically off while you're away. And then when you come back in the next morning, you go to turn the thing on, it will come up with a warning thing to play, say, please remove the container. Now, again, chefs ignore it for some reason. They will go, oh, I don't want that, and don't take the container out and then go past it. And then they got a melted container when they start using their oven. It's easy to remove and search that thing. Basically, you just warm up your oven again, try to remove the plastic and basically that. But like, why they go past a warning sign, I don't know, but it happens. So SpaceCombi, as Clovis was saying before, exactly the same functions as the larger combi oven, just compacted to a smaller space. So 55 centimeters wide, as he was saying. So if you don't have that space, you've got a pilot kitchen or something and you want a smaller oven for serving, for maybe a service oven. This does exactly the same as what this one does. The only difference is it's loading lengthways rather than crosswise. Some new ones. So this one I've done, which is quite unique to this one is in the cycle. So I've done 1 hour and 10 minutes for poached eggs in the shell. Only at 65 degrees for this one. I usually do it at 63, but sometimes for poached eggs, it's nice for basically if you're doing either the coddled or something like that, basically putting it on there and you've got that really runny egg. But sometimes if you're using it as a poached egg, maybe just take that a few degrees higher. See here. Yeah, you can do fresh pasta. You could do it in there. With the fresh pasta though, you just want to make sure that it's loose and everything. You might want to keep opening the door, loosening it, moving it around, and then closing the door and going again, just so that it's not going to stick. Because with fresh pasta, it has more inclined to stick than the drier ones. These ones I did this morning, and then just reheated them. So you could do it twice. If you took these out of the oven in your service, you didn't use them all, you put them straight into an ice bath, cool them down quickly, you can use them the next day. Just set the oven again for 63 degrees, put them in there, steam them. They'll still be runny. They're ready to serve for as poached eggs. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Yeah. But you can use that as a, so some of the chefs will crack it into warm water and then gets rid of this little bit of albumin. So that presentation wise, crack it straight into water, that bit floats off. You lift it with a slotted spoon straight onto basically your toast or your breakfast plate. So you can serve the eggs. That's those ones. This is the reheated ones. There you go.
but
Yeah. So I raised the temperature a little bit to 65. That's why I wanted to go a little bit higher. But if you do crack it into water, you get rid of that extra albumin around there, and then you got that perfectly runny egg. But I mean, the runny egg is basically just trying to get that nice way the yolk is cooked, but you try that yolk and it's just the same as eating whether it's runny or not. It shaves a lot of time in the morning, you know, having that chauffant on the back, keep changing the water, adjusting whether you got enough vinegar in there to hold the eggs, and it always becomes messy, you know, and everyone's trying to work with one pot for breakfast service. Like this can all be sitting in there. You can have, I've held them for up to about 4 or 5 hours, just at 63 degrees, ready to serve to the customer. So that gets you for the whole of service time, basically, and is holding at that perfect temperature rather than having a pot boiling. Anybody would like to try that? You can try that one. Or I can crack your own egg. Would you let me do one for yourself?
oh,
You try that one? Yeah.
Why would the whole egg?
Yesterday I made some, so basically bechamel, sort of souffle, bechamel sauce, and then added obviously the egg yolks at the end, separated with the egg whites for here, and added cheese. So we got Gruyere, Parmesan, and a little bit cheddar, basically the flavor, the souffle mix. So with the whisking eggs, if anybody would like to come up and have a go, if you want to make some souffles, then I don't get all the blame if they don't come out. Might be a good way to, you want to do maybe the regeneration trolley, just explain the trolley.
But yeah, so this is basically a regeneration trolley that's proprietary to the FlexiCombi. So you can take those racks out and put that entire top level directly in the oven. So for functions, big catering events, already plated meals, that you just want to regenerate, you can put the trolley in, push it in. There's a whole system that James knows how to do better than I do, so I'm not going to try. But you can fit the entire thing in, reheat. How many plates is it? Is it 40?
Sorry?
How many plates is it? 40?
That's 40 on that one.
Yeah, 40
Obviously
plates.
with the 20 tray would be the whole trolley from top to bottom. That's the 80 plates. They can be adjusted as well depending on your height of your plates, the size of your plates. This takes is it 28 centimeters is the full size main plate. They can do it, as you notice, it's stacked above. Obviously, if you're doing a little bit more height, so you would cook your vegetables, different parts of the actual dish, your vegetables, your potatoes, your protein, all on the plate at the same time, pre-cooked and then plated on the next. So you can plate them all up in the cool room and the function's ready to go out, especially if you've got like vegetarian section. You can have one chef on vegetarian while everyone else is doing everything else on the production line. One person can handle that, because all he's doing is putting it into the oven. So it's a case of just lifting the shelving out. They just come out. No, you can leave those in. The only thing you don't leave in is leaving in gastros. And a lot of people will leave in things like their pots and pans, or chefs will leave in their knives to clean them. Don't do that. Nah, especially not with knives and things like that. It will ruin it. And the chemicals are built for like, and your pans as well. It will take the linings off your pans. Like if you seasoned your pans and then you run it through there, like any seasoned pans, yeah.
I feel myself so pots clean.
Yeah.
Like,
Ruin your pots. The stainless steel, yeah. It'll just ruin the seasoning though, basically. It would make it so it sticks.
When you're doing your last cleaning cycle for the week, is give the door seal a wipe down, because obviously the water doesn't touch it because it's sealing the oven. It's not a huge deal, but just in order to expand the longevity of the door seal, just give it a wipe down and it'll last a lot longer than it would otherwise.
So with it, this is the plate that goes into the bottom of the oven. As you can see here, there is 4 points, or little spikes, where basically the shelves have just come off and out. So this goes in here with the solid bit at the back, and this part, the front, open. Slots onto that. Then here, your trolley. Yeah. The cover. So like when you got it in the cool room, the cover covers it all over, you've played it up, but nothing's going to be falling on it. There's none of that going around it with the cling film and trying to get everything in there. You've heated them all up, you're transporting it over to another station for it to go out. It will keep it warm, so it all seals off, keeps the temperature into it for a period of time. I think it's close to an hour, basically keeping good temperature in there, depending on what you take it up to. Slide this. Now this bit it locks it, so it can't go anywhere. And then, sorry, the other way around. So it locks it, so it slides off, down to this part. Then the handle goes in. Yeah, so you got all your plates, everything's on there, ready to go. Slide it into the cavity. Then that goes right. It was a bit stiff at the beginning of there because this is the first time it's been into this oven.
You can also level the feet. If you're using a rack like that, you would make sure that the leveling is about the same as the trolley.
That would go into there, and then so perfection. Perfection is basically the regeneration. So 130 degrees. If it was basically, I did the last month on a regeneration demo, again, which is on our YouTube, I think. I did multiple different types of protein. So I had some fish on there, chicken on there, I think it was some beef or lamb or so on there. So the 3 different ones on there, I set it at 130 degrees for around about 13 minutes. And then when I brought it out, I think the darker meats was around about 82 degrees once probed. The fish was around about 71. So it all brought it back to the thing. And then once it starts, the thing regenerates it, and there's no liquid on the plate, there's no steam and no condensation on the plate, anything else, it can go straight out. So for establishments like aged care, where they do a lot of oval plated meals, and they don't have sometimes chefs and everything into the aged care, it's much better for them. They can prepare everything, put it on the plates, and then serve it. Function centers, like I said before, you're doing the vegetarian section. You got the rest of it is going out by a production line, and then you've got one person on vegetarian. And then all he needs to do is roll that trolley out, bring it to his section. He has the sauce, finishing each dish with the sauce, and then straight out to the customer. It's a quicker way of doing everything and a much more controlled way and labor cost wise using regeneration. So like when you wanted to take it out, you're heading towards either the serving station, so that felt realistic. Adjust that. So that's open. Just take your little handle again. And lock it. Spinning wheel this way. Put the cover on, and then go to your serving section or ready to go. And then obviously the shelves back in, and then comes back to you as being an oven. So all I'm doing here, as you probably know, is the chef is we're gonna, for the sauce mixture, just gonna fold some whisked egg whites. The egg yolks have gone into the mix. Enough for now. We could whisk them a little bit more, but I'll do. I've already prepared my dishes. Use some of my egg whites. It's a lot easier, the guys on the TV, because they have whole production crews behind them, whisking the egg whites off camera. Yeah, so your Jamie Olivers and everybody, yeah, they get a little bit easier. Aerated, basically, that cheese sauce mix.
One thing I might touch on, since we've got technicians here, basically getting information from the oven on what is wrong. So what we, usually for the customer, we use something called the Combi doctor. So the customer pin is 111. They go in, scroll down, if it'll scroll down, and there's something called Combi doctor. So it essentially tests 9 different parts of the oven. So your your steaming solenoid, your all that thing. Test each one and come back with a. You've got the choice of testing the climate, so what has to do with cooking, and then the wave clean functions as well. So if you want to start them, it'll give you, I believe, 9 areas, which is basically 9 relays that it tests, and comes back to you with either a green or a red light. That's mostly for the customers. What we trust more for when we're going in, or technicians are going in, is something called the relay test. So this is, it's loading. I pressed start, that was a mistake. It takes a minute for it to get started. I might just restart the oven, to be honest. Yeah, it'll test the relays. That basically, at the same time, tests if the relay at the board is faulty, or if the actual, it tests the communication between the two. So either one or the other will be faulty, and there'll be other things telling you which one it is. Settings. So 1967, and you've got your relay test. Look for the green light and listen for a sound. So for this one, for example, that one's working. You can hear the pump. You can hear these things activating. Yeah. And essentially you can go through all that, do a process of elimination. Something else you can do is display the fault memory. So oftentimes we'll hear of technicians that are working on this oven that has had this fault, but they can't recreate the fault. To get the code, you go to this display fault memory, click OK, and it'll go through what has come up in the past month or week or day, and you can find it out that way.
So I'm going to 190, I press start. What it does, see it goes 219, it's telling you actual temperature at the moment is 43 degrees. So depending on what temperature you're going to, this will get to 219. The reason it gives to 219 is it tells you when it's finished to load the oven. And then when you're loading the oven, you open that door and you're going to lose that 30 degrees. It's calculating that you lose that energy. It comes out there as you open the door. Then you're ready to load. When it's loaded and closing the door, it's going in at the optimum temperature. If you're using it as a service oven, this part can be adjusted. So they basically use it as a service oven if it's multiple times you're opening it. But with the program, if you're using it for a prep oven and programming and sort of this, put it on there to that. I'll show all this on training, or Clovis will go through this on training when that happens. It's probably going to take maybe 5-6 minutes to preheat. Yeah. So this is ready to go in there. It'll give a buzzer will go off and let me know that basically load the oven, and then I close the door and it's going in at optimum temperature. Basically start cooking the souffles. So this was a program I did earlier. So 190 degrees for 13 minutes, I think it was, to cook the souffles. So, and they come off nicely raised, a little bit of glaze on the top. You can finish with a little bit of cheese. And they come out just slightly, a little bit of runny in the middle, but nicely risen. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't show the, I pre-pulled the lamb, but I showed you the difference between, that was a full piece of lamb. I just took 2 forks and it just pulled it fully apart. Yeah. So we'll have some of that later. I've had it before. It's really good. But.
And this is called Induc'Stone.
Yes.
It's, did you want to go for that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially it's just it's a buffet warmer. It's only 650 watts, 10 amps. That you can just have under your bench. It looks like a normal bench top, but you can use it as a warmer as well. It comes with a silicone spacer, so you're not ruining the bench. Yep. No matter how high you put the setting at, the actual bench will never go higher than 55 degrees Celsius. So once you once you take it off, it looks like it's just a normal bench. No one's going to come touch it and actually get bent.
I'll show you on here actually. You can.
Let's say you tell it used it.
You can clean the display. So manual, clean the screen. This is a nice little feature actually. Your clean screen gives you 20 seconds. So nothing's a touch screen, nothing's moving while you're cleaning that. So
we organize the service calls, and then we work with people like Baker Group and Norfolk to get it done. How we do in Victoria, our service manager is Sean. So right now he's in Germany getting trained on servicing MKN equipment, Adventys equipment, which have made those, and those at the back there. And he's getting trained on our ventilated ceilings as well.
Did you want to say the Combi doctor for preventative maintenance?
Yeah, I spoke about it with Baker Group, but for in case you do have a problem, if you go in your, I'll go from the start. Go to device functions, go into settings. Your password will be 111. There we go. We've got something called Combi Doctor. So basically the Combi will run through and test each different part, like working part of the oven. I think it's about 9 different parts. It'll be blank and it'll either go green or red, depending on if it's working or not. So what works, what helps with us with getting your oven back up and running as soon as possible is first that device information screen with the serial number and the software version. Then doing a Combi Doctor, taking a photo of that, and then just sending it to our service email. Yeah, the only time someone would show up without a part is if the information you've given us doesn't give us a clear example. Often though, we'll give them a selection of parts, but usually those photos that I told you, Combi Doctor, device information, and then also if there's an error code, having a picture of that. That's usually enough to give us at least an idea of what parts to send. And if we don't know exactly which one, often we'll send a technician 2 or 3 different parts that they can choose from and test. And then after that, they can just send it back to us. In Victoria, we've got extra flexibility, but we work with service companies nationwide and have been working with them since we started, basically.
As you can see as well on Combi Doctor, the diagnostic, you can check the wave clean, which is obviously just the cleaning function of it, or you can check both. There's different times. I think roughly, I think both of them is roughly around about 25 minutes as a test. So you might do that at the end of the day, every 3 months, because there might be, visually, there's nothing wrong with your oven. It's working fine and everything, but there might be something happening in the background that you just want to get ahead of, make sure everything is working right. So we probably would recommend every 3 months, just run one of these, stick it in your diary, just to do a check at the end of the day. I want to go through one of the other trays as well. This is obviously 1GN size, one of the things to go into your SpaceCombi. This is like a grilling tray. So we do a solid one with the ridges on it, so that you can do it like to put the marks on it. So if you're doing function work, you put this in, you heat your oven up to get the bars hot, and you open the door, put your salmon or whatever you wanted to put onto there, or meats, so they give it the grill marks. So if you haven't got a char grill and you want to still use that grill marks as presentation wise, if you're prepping for a function maybe, you just want to grill it on one side to do markings and everything, so ready for presentation when you're reheating it. You can do it with some of these ones.
I might, we've got time, and I know you've got a fryer in the lineup. I might touch on some of the on some of the features of the fryer. First thing, it's good to note, the baskets are made from 316 stainless steel. It's food grade. Yeah, exactly. Majority of what you'll find elsewhere is mild steel coated in chrome. Issue with that, yeah, it rusts and the chrome flakes off, goes into your oil, goes onto the food. It's a safety issue. There's nothing coated, it's just solid 316 stainless steel. You'll see the elements are quite sizable.
It acts the same as a 20-litre fryer. So you're saving 40% on oil. Well, the thing is, in a 20-litre gas fryer, you have that centrifuge in the middle. Basically, it's like the big tube. So the flames go up in front of there. So remember when you're trying to clean the fryer, you're trying to get your the longest spoon you got in the kitchen, try and get all that stuff down the sides and around it. And so all that's down there is like 8 litres of water or more, 8 litres of oil or more that you're not using. And it's just sitting down there. Whereas this, 12.5 litres, it's one cavity. And then cleaning, it's just empty it out.
They've got space. I mean, this is what you want to be looking at, and that's the same size as what you'd find elsewhere. What I was going to say about the elements is they're big. That's for 2 reasons. 1, heat distribution within the oil, and 2, the bigger the element, the less wattage per square centimeter you have. The less that is, the longer your elements are going to last. So they're bigger. They don't necessarily have extremely powerful because of that. They're 10 kilowatts each. But the reason for it is not to have more power, it's to have more even heat distribution and a higher longevity on your elements. This is 2 things. This is a deep cool zone. So basically any crumbs or any residue that comes from the fryer goes to the bottom where it is cold and just stays there. So at the end, your crumbs will be at the bottom. Another thing it is a fat clarifying tray. So when you're done, you'll have oil at the bottom here. You just empty it out, but your crumbs will stay there. So you can reuse the same oil. It keeps the crumbs in one place. It cools them down. They stay at the bottom.